Hi there, my name is Kyle Carrington. I run increasewebtraffic.ca, and this is SEO 101 Case Study Electric Bike. What I'd like to show you today is some of the ways that I look at patrol jobs on the web and how I find customers, but in doing so, how I examine what people on the web and where they're going astray in comparison to their competitors. Okay, so if we go to Google and we type in keyword tool and we do a quick search, you'll find that Google itself has a website that allows people to see how much certain terms are being used online to do searches. And this is a really useful tool because it helps us narrow down our keywords. Okay, so if you go to the site and you go through the procedure here, you can enter in a couple of key phrases that you feel might be your keyword terms, or if you want to see the traffic that's occurring around those terms, this is where you do it. You do want to make sure that you're selecting the right geographic area, so that's what I'm doing right here. Is I'm going down and I'm going to find Canada and make sure that I'm doing a proper Canada search. Now, if you're in the States, of course, you're gonna do United States or United Kingdom. You're gonna select a different area of their statistics. Okay, so now what I'm doing here is I'm comparing the usage of electric bike, electric scooter versus the plural versions, electric bikes, electric scooters, that sort of thing. And you can see here I'm noting which of the terms actually brings in more searches. The local monthly searches, for example, now if you're talking about google.ca, that's local to google.ca, whereas the global monthly searches would be all flavors of Google, including .com, .ca, and other countries around the world. Okay, so now I've keyed in on a few different terms, and I'm liking the singular terms. Okay, now another thing that you want to do is you want to use a variety of single and plural terms. I mean, you don't want to cut yourself right out of the traffic. There might be more traffic in a singular or plural form, but you want to mix it up a bit. Now, the other thing you want to make sure you do with Google when you're trying to analyze competition is you want to make sure that you are working on a browser that's freshly cleared. So you want to clear all histories and all cookies and then do your search. You see, that actually changed up my search a bit. Okay, so when we look at who's scoring in the top 10 here, when we see who's in the results, we find that there's many companies, and you're going to see right off the get-go that your keywords that you chose to search with are coming up in bold on some of these entries. So when we look down through these entries, we see the actual key term. Now, when I go through and I'm looking on page 1 and page 2, as an SEO consultant, it's natural for me to see who's doing okay but not fantastic, for example, who needs a little bit of work. And so in doing this demo, basically what this is an average morning for me, sitting down and figuring out who is in the game but not quite in the top 10 yet. And that's what I'm doing right here. I'm just going through and I'm seeing who's optimized and who isn't optimized. And when we find a company that's sitting on page 2 or page 3, we know right away that naturally if we verify the keywords are in fact relevant, then you're gonna find people who need to get bumped up, need a little bit of help, need some consulting. So now I've switched over to the plural of the term, and I'm looking through and I'm seeing who's doing what with the plural term. And that's when I come to my case study. Right away I see a result. I know they're in the business, they're selling it, and they're capitalizing on the plural term, but they're not capitalizing on the singular term. So they're missing out a lot of traffic, because when I did the search on the singular term, they didn't come up that well. Okay, so now I see that they are in fact using the plural term, and here's their website. And there's a lot of things that I can derive very quickly by looking at a website. One of them is that this website has too much graphics and not enough words. So here I am going over to another tool. Okay, this is called Site Explorer. You can do a search for that. Site Explorer, it's going to bring it up. You put your URL in the top, the very top. Okay, and then once you go in, it's going to tell you how many pages you have. Then you click on In Links and you set it except from this domain. So what this is going to tell me is how many places on the internet are they linked up to. And you can see that this company, Blue Avenue, they've got some links. They got some good links, in fact. It looks like some blogs on WordPress and stuff. So they got a bit of backlinks, and you know, quite likely maybe somebody at the store actually developed this site, and maybe he's got a blog, or you know, maybe they've got a riders group. You know, they're connected with people who get out on these bikes and ride around, and so they got blogs and stuff. Inadvertently, they've helped their SEO though by having those backlinks. So you know, I can tell from this that I've seen that, you know, they got a good start. They're just not optimized. Okay, now what I'm doing here is at WebConfs is I'm using a tool to basically spider their website and have a look at it exactly like Google would. And I can see that they don't have enough relevant text. They have some keywords in prominent or head locations at the start, but they're not bold, they're not titles, they're not H1 headers, and there's not a lot of sentence structure. Plus their links come right off the get-go. And their links are good, but unfortunately they've crammed the words right up against other words. And Google can't create reference to that. Had they have put a dash in there, they'd have been better off. So now I'm looking at one of the sub pages and seeing how much content it has. And again, it has a lot of content, but there's not a lot of sentences, not a lot of theme to the content. Okay, so you know, right off the get-go, Google looks at it and it says, you know what, there's no meta description. I actually don't know what this site is about. I don't know what to tell people. Okay, and that's not a good thing. That's got to be fixed up. Okay, so when I look at the page source, or when I look at the actual HTML, I notice that they have a title, but it's too short. Okay, then another really typical error, they have a bunch of styling and scripting that's right at the beginning of their HTML. This should have been put into include files, and then that way there isn't so much text that Google has to read before it gets to any keywords. All this stuff can be tucked away in secondary includes, and then when Google reads this document top down, or from the top down, it'll get to the meat of the matter faster. But what's happening here is Google is seeing a bunch of CSS styling, a bunch of JavaScript, and then a bunch of links leading away from the home page before it ever actually gets to the meat of the matter, which is the discussion or the topic: bikes, electric scooters. So basically what this site needs is not a complete redesign per se, but it needs optimization. It needs some time spent either consulting with the company or redoing the way that they've texted the website, looking at different avenues. Okay, so that's it. Thank you very much.